Today we're going to take a look at finding slope in various ways. Slope from 2 points, slope from a table, slope from a graph, and lastly, slope from an equation. But before we delve into finding slope, let's take a look at the vocabulary. Slope measures the steepness of a line. The letter M is used to denote slope. Slope can be positive, negative, 0, or undefined. Y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. In the ordered pair for the y-intercept, the x-coordinate is 0. The letter B is used to denote the y-intercept. The x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. In the ordered pair for the x-intercept, the y-coordinate is 0. Slope-intercept form is an equation in the form of y is equal to mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. Before we get into finding slope, let's define the 4 types of slope. We have positive slope. When you hear positive slope, think of walking uphill. Negative slope, think of walking downhill. Zero slope, it's like a flat plane. And when you think of undefined, think of vertical, standing. Okay, let's get into finding slope from 2 points. What is the formula that you would need? Yes, you would need a formula to find the slope between 2 points. This is your formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We're going to use the formula above to find the slope between the points 2, 6 and 4, 9. So let's begin. So the first step you need to do is label. You need to label the points. So when we label the points, it's going to give us x1, y1, x2, y2. So we just labeled our points. So we got x1, y1, my 2 and my 6, x2, y2 is my 4 and 9. Next, we are going to plug that into our formula above. So when we plug that in, we're going to take our y2 and y1 over x2, x1. So that will leave us with 9 minus 6 over 4 minus 2. Next, we're going to solve. 9 minus 6 and 4 minus 2 will leave us with 3/2. So my slope for the given 2 points, it's m is equal to 3/2 or 3 over 2. Hope that makes sense. Next, we're going to take a look at finding slope from a table. First thing we want to do, we want to find the change in our x and our y values. So let's start off with the x. From 1 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7. So how many hops do I have to make from 1 to 3? And hops for 3 to 5 and 5 to 7. If you said 2, you're correct. Now let's take a look at the y values. 5 to 10, 10 to 15, and 15 to 20. How many hops do you have to make to each? If you say 5, you're correct. Now if you remember previously we spoke about constant rate of change. So we're looking at my x is increasing by 2, the same value, and my y is increasing by 5, the same value. So let's go ahead and find the slope. So the formula that you would need would be the change in y over the change in x. Now that delta sign, that triangle that you're looking at, we refer to it as the change in. So we have the change in y over the change in x. So let's take our change in y. Our change in y is 5, and my change in x is 2. So my slope is equal to 5 over 2. Hope that makes sense. Let's take a look at finding slope from a graph. The first thing we need to do is have that formula there, rise over run. That is what we're going to use to find the slope of this given graph. The first thing you want to do is look at the very first point. How much do I have to rise to get to the second point? So let's see. I rise 3. Now let's look at the second point. how much do I have to run to get to the second point? 1, 2. So I rise 3 and I run 2. So let's explain how you find the slope of a graph by locating your points, rise and run. So when we rise and run, it will leave us with 3/2 or 3/2. Hope that makes sense. Let's take a look finally at finding slope from an equation. So we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So here's our equation. Y is equal to 4x plus 3. Next, we need to circle the slope in the above equation. So how do we know that 4 is my slope? You know this because it's the coefficient of x, the number in front of x. That's your coefficient. So we can safely say that 4 is our slope. Hope that makes sense. Remember, you can always pause, rewind, rewatch as many times as you like. Now it's your turn. Pause the video and give it a try. Be ready for class discussion.